Hi there, my name is Athol and this is an episode of Ask Athol Anything, and if you have a question for me you can send it to, guess what, askatholanything@gmail.com, and hopefully we can make it part of the show. So let's jump to today's question. We've been married over 35 years. Most times have been okay to good. My husband has sexual problems. He did not have sex with me until 6 months after the marriage. We had some okay years and 2 children. In 2003, we declared bankruptcy. I knew we had trouble, but not to the extent my husband knew, so it was a shock to me. Since that time, almost no sex for affection. I hate it. My husband said I could have another secret partner. He has Cialis and we have never used it. He suffers from depression. I tend to become anxious and have panic attacks. We both see a psychiatrist and a therapist. My husband feels better but still struggling. I would have gone to the convent if I wanted to live like this. Alrighty, so please help. Okay, there is a lot going on here. Okay, let's jump into it. So no sex for 6 months after you were married is a huge red flag. And if you had been talking to me 2 months in, 3 months in, or even about a week and a half into your marriage and you had said there was no sex, my default advice would be to just get out, look back, don't look back, get it annulled and move on with your life, because it means there's an incredibly serious problem happening in your relationship and there's probably no getting around it at that point. And with relationships, the level of sex and baseline attraction tends to be the high water mark right at the beginning of your relationship. You can have ebbs and flows, ups and downs, but there's always something to get back to if you had that high water mark of attraction at the beginning. And at the beginning, he had no sexual interest in you. And if he had had sexual interest in you, he would have been seeking you out and you would have been having sex, at least some. And 6 months dry spell at the start of a marriage is enormous. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. He basically said that you can have a secret sex partner. He's approved it, and that is also a massive red flag, because what that means is he wants the relationship to continue. He wants the marriage to continue because he gets something out of it, but he's also recognizing that you need sex and he absolutely does not want to supply it. And he's willing to have someone else supply it so that his relationship can stay intact. So you don't get divorced. And I get that. No one wants to be divorced. No one wants to split their family up. No one wants to split their finances and break up their family. So there can be good reasons he doesn't want to be divorced. But he so much doesn't want to be divorced, yet at the same time doesn't want sex. He has approved having sex with somebody else. That tends to be an enormously bad sign when that is happening. Another red flag. He has Cialis and we have never used it. That's because he doesn't want to have sex with you. He has the ability to change that so he could physically have sex, but emotionally, mentally, whatever it is, he does not want to have sex. He has depression, which I guess is only to be expected in the sense of he's very obviously living a life, especially with you, where he's not going to get what he wants. And to me, it's not even clear what he does want. I mean, there could be half a dozen reasons why he doesn't want to have sex. But whatever it is, he's not living a life where he's getting his deepest needs met and he's getting what he wants. So being depressed when you don't get what you want for 35 years is not all that unusual. The other thing that jumped out at me is you said you had anxiety and panic attacks. And I'm kind of curious how long this has been going on and whether or not this was something that's developed over time or something that started when you had met him. Because if you're having panic attacks and you're anxious, that often comes across as you being kind of needy, and I don't mean to be harsh here, but it comes across as you being kind of weak. And he has this massive hidden problem that he doesn't want to address. And if you're weak and you're having panic attacks and you're anxious, and your partner has a big problem they don't want to address. You being anxious is not so much a bug, but a feature. That's a plus to him, because if you're anxious and needy and weak, it means you're not going to leave him and end the relationship and go on to something else. So there's a sense where that helps him maintain and sustain the relationship, because you're too scared and frightened and anxious to leave, when other women who are stronger, more confident might have done that years ago. And let's quickly talk about the bankruptcy. And obviously that's another sort of hidden problem scenario where you had some degree of denial, you didn't quite know how bad was, but it was in fact really, really bad, and he hid that from you. So this becomes another thing that he is hiding from you, and you're kind of being a little bit of denial about. There's a sense where you've let yourself be anxious and handed him all the power in the relationship to dictate it as he wants. It's also interesting that since the bankruptcy that there's been no sex or affection at all, or basically next to none. Part of me kind of halfway suspects that an unwitting benefit of the bankruptcy to him was that it might have been such a catastrophically bad thing. I mean, no sex, minimal sex, minimal affection, and bankruptcy, that might have been enough to make you leave him and go on with your life. And after the bankruptcy, he sees how terrible things can get, and yet you don't have any internal standards to say that this is so crappy that I'm not going to stick around. So you've had no sex plus a bankruptcy. If you're sticking around after that, there's part of him that says, I don't have to do anything for her. It doesn't matter how bad gets. I don't have to do anything to keep her invested in the relationship. She's never going to leave, and I really don't want sex, and I'm not feeling particularly affectionate, so I don't have to even try to fake that I'm even interested in sex with you. So I know this is all kind of harsh, and I know you're talking to psychiatrists and therapists, and I get the feeling they've tried to reach you on some of this stuff. So here's my kind of final analysis. You are never going to get the love, attention, and sex that you want from your relationship from this man. It's just not ever going to happen. He wasn't interested in you in the beginning, and he's certainly not interested in you now, at least not in the way that you want him to be. And it's not because he's some kind of monster or you're somehow totally unlovable. There's some sort of deep dysfunction or lack of connection or just straight up incompatibility that exists here. And I guess that's sort of the low-hanging fruit to say, well, what if he's just gay? What if he's just a closeted guy that has no real interest in women but just didn't feel able to be out of the closet? You've been married 35 years, so when was that? That's the 80s or something? Mid-80s, so being gay wasn't as acceptable then as it is now, and that's just maybe the life he's led, and he may have no idea how to even get out of it. I'm not even saying he is gay, it could be something else, but that's the sort of thing that says it's not really you, there's just this deep incompatibility. And this really comes back to one of my core concepts, which is what I call the 4-outcome matrix. When you're in a dysfunctional relationship or not getting what you want, there's only 4 outcomes that you can choose from. The first one is tolerance, which is kind of what you've been doing for the last 35 years, where you don't get your needs met and you live this life of sacrifice that your partner doesn't have to deal with the real issue. The second one is what has been floating to you, that you could basically cheat or get your needs met outside the relationship, and that way the relationship stays intact, but you're happy with someone else getting your needs met outside the relationship. The third one is where you just give up and say, I'm never going to get what I want from this relationship, and you divorce them and you move on to either just live by yourself or find someone new. And the fourth outcome is that somehow the relationship has renaissance, the sex improves, the connection improves, and life is significantly better. But as I said before, you're never going to get the love and sex that you want from this man. It's just not an option. So while there is a 4-outcome matrix, unfortunately the 4th outcome is not available to you. So you only have the option of continued toleration, doing what you want, doing what you're doing now, sex outside the relationship, or divorcing him and moving on with your life and hopefully finding someone new. So that's essentially where my advice in the situation. You have to make some sort of choice and define your life the way you want to. The only other thought that I have is I think you underestimate how much the situation just drains the life out of you, and how dysfunctional and ingrained the situations become in your life. I think it will be hard for you to even imagine not feeling an endless sense of pain and just, background misery. So this is something to talk over with your psychiatrist and therapist about what you need to do. And I suspect that they already know. They already know that you're never going to get what you want from him. And I suspect they've been trying to reach you to say, you need to find a way to move forward. So, and this is a heartbreaking story. It really is. 35 years is a long time. And I'm assuming you got married at when you were 20 to 25. You're now 55 to 60. And life is too long to live with that. And I'm sure you still have some good, happy years left if you want. It's not too late to have the life you want. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. My name is Athol. This has been an episode of Ask Athol Anything. If you have a question for me, askatholanything@gmail.com. And until next time, like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that good internet stuff. And I'll catch you later.